Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm David Kapp, United States Attorney for the Northern District. At the podium with me to my left, Dave Colson, Public Information Officer for the Bureau of ATF, Assistant United States Attorney David Nozick, East Chicago Police Chief Mark Becker, Hammond Police Chief Brian Miller, and the Executive Director of our Lake County HIDA, Chuck Perusnik. The FBI has also been an integral part of this effort, and the FBI is currently preoccupied in a few other operations going on in the area this afternoon and cannot be here. On November 23rd, 2002, the Cartegena family, including 6 children, were kidnapped at gunpoint from their home in Hammond. Today's indictment alleges that this kidnapping was ordered by Jesus Fuentes, a leader of the 2-6 Street Gang. The 2-6 Street Gang is a primarily Chicago-based gang, named 2-6 for 26th Street. And Fuentes is one of the local leaders who brought the 2-6 gang into Northwest Indiana. This kidnapping was done by a number of 2-6 gang members, including Lewis Henderson and Kiontey Pennington. The kidnapping was an effort to recover a large quantity of cocaine stolen from Fuentes by a fellow 2-6er, Julio Cartegena. At this time, Fuentes, who is from Chicago and East Chicago, from Chicago, Illinois and East Chicago, Indiana, at the time was living in Mexico and had been fronted this large quantity of cocaine by one of the Mexican cartels. Fortunately, the Hammond Police Department was on top of this and quickly rescued the family, and thankfully no one was injured. Several months later, the indictment alleges Fuentes directed other 2-6ers to kidnap Mr. Cartegena. On May 16th, 2003, 2-6 members, Lewis Henderson, Kiontey Pennington, Adron Tancil, and an associate of Henderson's who was not a 2-6er, Oscar Cosme, shot and killed Julio Cartegena on the streets of East Chicago during an attempted kidnapping. A high-speed chase followed. The vehicle crashed. Lewis Henderson was the driver of that vehicle. Henderson was killed in the crash. Today's indictment charges Fuentes, Pennington, and Tancil with being members of a criminal enterprise, the 2-6ers, and with intentionally murdering Julio Cartegena to advance the objectives of that criminal enterprise. Those 3 individuals, along with Oscar Cosme, are also charged in a second count with using and discharging firearms in furtherance of a drug transaction and causing the death of Julio Cartegena. These charges, and I want to emphasize that an indictment is an allegation only, and that all of these individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court. But these charges are all death penalty eligible. No decision has been made on the death penalty as of yet. I repeat, no decision has been made on the death penalty. Only the Attorney General of the United States can make that decision, and that is a process that we are just initiating, and that process can and will take some time. All 4 of these individuals are in custody. Fuentes has been in federal custody as he is also facing substantial federal drug charges that were filed by the United States Attorney's Office in Chicago as a result of excellent work over there by the Drug Enforcement Administration. We have been working hand in hand with our counterparts at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago and with our law enforcement colleagues in the DEA regarding Fuentes. So he's facing charges in Chicago and now federal charges here in northern Indiana. Mr. Tancil has been incarcerated in the Indiana State Prison System, serving a sentence for an unrelated offense. We writted Mr. Tancil from the state system into the federal system. He made his first appearance in federal court yesterday. Pennington and Cosme were arrested by this law enforcement team. They are in the federal system in Hammond and are being held without bond. I want to thank the combined law enforcement efforts that are before you today. East Chicago, Hammond, ATF, FBI, HIDA. I also want to thank our United States Marshal and Myron Sutton and the United States Marshal Service. They are a behind-the-scenes partner on all these efforts with us, and they, of course, are responsible for processing all of these individuals that we bring into the federal system. And it's only through cooperative efforts like this, federal, state, and local, that we can accomplish results like this. And I especially want to thank and acknowledge Assistant United States Attorney David Nozick to my left, who has worked tirelessly on this matter, and quite frankly, without David's efforts and expertise, none of this would have happened. Thank you, David. This is the third criminal enterprise that this law enforcement effort has investigated and brought charges against within the last 18 to 24 months. We are not finished. I have said it before at prior press conferences. I will repeat it again. If you are a member of a criminal enterprise, if you are an associate of the criminal enterprise, if you are assisting a criminal enterprise in any way, and I don't care if it's yesterday or, as this indictment today shows, 11 years ago, we are coming after you, and you are next. Thank you very much.
I'll just say a couple of words here. I just echo Mr. Capp's comments. I'm very proud of this police department. I'm proud of the association and relationship we enjoy with all these people up here and their agencies. I'm proud of our officers. Officer Brian Payne has been assigned to the ATF task force for some time. He has worked diligently with ATF on this matter, and I appreciate your efforts, Brian. I appreciate the efforts of our gang unit and our stop team and all the other wonderful things we're doing with all these wonderful people up here. I arrived in the area in 1987. A lot of the names I hear in that charging document, I've heard. I've written them down myself over the years. It's nice to see those names appear on a press release announcing resolve for the victims as well as for the bad guys that need to pay their dues for it. So I thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks, Chief. Dave?
Yep. I too would like to echo the sentiments here of all that are at this press conference about the indictments and how the ongoing process works, the collaborative efforts that we have with federal, state, and our local partners. But more importantly, it needs to be abundantly clear that this is about quality of life. This is about issues that affect not only public safety in East Chicago, but also our entire region. And we need to look at this from a bigger perspective, and I think that's what this group is doing. It's about quality of life. It's about advancement of this area. And when we have groups that are terrorizing communities and people can't move about because they're afraid, then we need to address that. And that's what this group has been doing for some time now. And as the U.S. Attorney said, it's going to continue. The efforts by all our federal partners, our local partners, are going to continue, and we're going to move forward because it is about people's safety and about the quality of life, and as a community and as a region to move forward. So it will continue. Thank you.
Thanks. Take a few questions.
I know according to court records, Tancil, Cosme, and Pennington were already charged, right?
Correct. Yeah, we already brought some of the charges against them. The main change today was the addition of Jesus Fuentes,
okay,
who directed the kidnapping and what resulted in the murder.
Okay.
Yes.
And from some court records I've already seen, I know that the three men, Tancil, Cosme, and Pennington, had been arrested, like right after the crash, were not arrested, they were interviewed. They were known to be involved, I guess.
Right.
11 years later, why the time?
You know, good question. I don't have all the details about what happened back then, 11 years ago. I believe there was some, you know, evidentiary concerns and just some inability to really tie some of this together. We have not been involved in this for that long of a time, but one of the many good things that is coming out of this effort is people are starting to come forward and talk. And that's a very important development, and we're able to reach back at times like this, 11 years, and start filling in what gaps may have existed with evidence and things like that, and we're able to bring an indictment like we did today.
I know that in the two other large RICO cases you guys have going on, there's been a lot of plea agreements and cooperation. Was there help in this case from any of the defendants in those cases?
I don't want to talk about any specific defendants, but I will say, yes, there's been people that are helpful. Yes. Sir.
Do we put a little bigger dent in street crime with these arrests in East Chicago?
You know, yeah, I think so. I'd, you know, certainly defer to the chief, but I think over the last 18 to 24 months, the efforts we've been collectively doing have made a major impact on the streets of East Chicago and Hammond. And this just continues that effort. And as I said, we're not done.
Would you say this effectively eliminates a 2-6 presence in East Chicago?
Yeah, I don't want to comment on whether we're eliminating everybody or half of them or anything like that. I'll go back to my original statement. If you're a member or an associate of a criminal enterprise, whether you're doing something yesterday or 11 years ago, we're coming after you. Ma'am.
So my name is Jackie, and from the 411 newspaper. So this is the first time I'm getting to see Mr. Becker and the, can I ask about the Region Stop team?
Sure.
Okay. So you sent out a press release recently,
yes,
about an up-to-date results of the Stop team.
Yes.
So is this will continue for forever?
Well, forever is a pretty long time. I would like to see the day when the Region Stop team's not needed, but for the time being, I think as long as we have the vision and the courage of people like Chief Ingram and Chief Miller and the Sheriff's Department and all the other chiefs in the area that have committed their resources to it, and as long as there's a need for it, we will do it. And I think you can see from the recent press release that we have been extremely active and I think effective in reducing crime. The problem with that is that the most important number you won't see is how many crimes don't get reported because they're out there, because they just don't happen. But I think you'll see a reduction in crime.
Mm-hmm. So now, Gary, Hammond, and East Chicago, that's the main...
And the Lake County Sheriff.
Okay.
And then there's it escapes me now, but maybe 6 or 7 other agencies that provide a part-time presence.
Mm-hmm. So is there any threat that when the state police issued a report on Gary recently, and they mentioned that Gary was spread kind of thin with all of the task force where it assigns officers. Would there be any threat that Gary might have to be reduced?
I wouldn't even begin to comment on that. It would be up to the mayor and up to the chief. Gary, a better question for them on what they're going to do with that report.
Yeah.
Any chance that this specific case might have more defendants in the future, or is it?
I'd say there's always that chance. As I said, this investigation is not over. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll put the press release.
Yeah, Mary's got
right here.